This is a review on the Bradley Mayhem. Actually got this knife a while ago, and I just got around to reviewing it now, so I apologize for the delay. Definitely a knife that I've been wanting to review for a while. It's actually one of my favorite Balisongs and one of my favorite knives overall in my collection. The Bradley Mayhem is designed by Bradley, but actually manufactured by Benchmade. And it's one of the highest quality knives that I've ever handled. The fit and finish is just really, really outstanding on it. The look, the design is very well thought out, and that's what makes it one of my favorite blades. Now, usually I have a policy that if I don't flip a Balisong, and if it's just sitting in the safe and I don't enjoy using it, I sell it. I sold my Benchmade 32, I sold my Zabofly because I didn't like flipping them and I just wasn't using them a whole lot. The Mayhem is a pretty lousy flipper, in my opinion, but it stays in my collection and I don't plan to ever sell it just because it's such a great EDC and I just like the overall design a lot. It's just one of my favorite knives just because of its high quality and because of its unique build and design. So I'll start with the latch up and kind of just go over the features briefly. They did go with a spring latch. It's kind of a trademark Benchmade 42 style latch. Same kind of construction on a 42. They used a pillar here with the spring. The great thing about this latch is it locks up extremely tight in the open and closed position. I've actually opened and closed this a lot, and the lockup has not loosened up at all since I got it, which I think is a testament to high quality. Usually latches get looser over time, but as you can see, this latch, even as much as I've used it, if I try to, most Balisongs, if I squeeze it just with two fingers like this, it'll pop open. If I do that here, I have to squeeze it extremely hard before it opens. So I like that it locks up very secure. They went with a pillar construction. They went with these anodized blue pillars, which I think looks great on the knife. And I like how it's not symmetrical. They have them offset. It's just a unique styling cue to the knife. The handles are titanium. They first came out with a gray bead blast look. I went with this blue anodized handle. I just like the look better than the gray. They put these indents in here as a styling cue. I guess you could say for grip too, but I don't know how much it really plays a part. I guess your fingers kind of fall in there, but I just like the overall look. It was just very well thought out. This finger groove here actually does help for use. And the curve of the handles really just makes this extremely ergonomic. Just fits into your hand perfectly. They went with a Zen pin setup here. The handles, as you can see, are not symmetrical. They are curved, and the setup here is offset and staggered. Pretty unique. I do like the fact that these Zen pins, I've never had to tighten them. Even though I flipped this a lot, they've never become loose. So another testament to the quality of the knife. I do kind of have a complaint about how the tang comes out of the blade. This tends to pinch you when you're flipping, and it pinches pretty hard. Like, it actually feels like you're getting cut. So that's one drawback. But if you're just opening it for like a quick draw or a double rollout for EDC, it's not really an issue. It's more when you're actually flipping it and doing more advanced tricks. They did go with phosphorus bronze washers. I don't think it has bushings. I thought it did, but I've been told that it actually doesn't have bushings, so correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I have never taken it apart, so I'm not sure what's underneath there, but it does pivot extremely smooth. The blade is actually one of my favorite parts about this knife. I like how they made it extremely fat. They offset these handles enough to fit this big fat blade. Usually on Balisongs we're used to thin, narrow blades, but they went with a very beefy stock and a very wide setup. What's cool is they went with a really thick stock, as you can see, but the swedge is long and narrow. They ground it up about 2/3 the way. and they actually kept this whole area from pretty much the beginning of the knife to the tip, or the beginning of the blade to the tip, relatively thin, so it's still very useful for EDC. If a knife's kind of thick, like if they kept it this thick throughout, it actually has a tough time cutting through stuff. So this is a great EDC blade. It's S30V steel, so it's just performed excellent. They do have a little bit of jimping here. It's not very aggressive, helps a little bit, but overall I kind of like the appearance. The function is just so-so, but it's not bad for just a reference point for your thumb. As far as how it flips, I had mentioned earlier that the Mayhem is not a great flipper. Main reason for that is it's titanium handles, and like I had mentioned, they only have these little pillar spacers. So we're usually for a volley song, there'll be one solid piece back here that carries a lot of weight. Sometimes it's stainless steel. Or for like a Benchmade 42, it's titanium, but it's channel, so a lot of the weight is evenly distributed across the whole handle. This gap is also filled. As I mentioned before, most volley songs will have a smaller, thinner blade. What that causes is a weight bias in the handles, which is what you want for a flipper. This is a very big blade. It's a thick stock. These handles are very light because they're titanium. So what the Mayhem has is kind of the opposite. It's a blade biased volley song, so that makes it pretty hard to manage when flipping. That, coupled with the fact that the handles are not symmetrical and they're offset, the pivots are offset, makes it pretty hard to flip. As you can see, if I were to just leave this here on my finger, the blade weighs so much that it kind of wants to fall. It'll hold for a little bit, but it tends to want to roll off. So what that causes is when you're doing things like chaplains, this knife, most knives I can go around 3-4 times on a vertical chaplain. This thing, if I get around twice, I'm doing pretty good. Same thing with zero gravity chaplains. This handle just tends to wants to fly off. It just doesn't have enough weight to keep the momentum against my finger. For rollovers, for open rotation moves, there's just not enough weight in the handles to carry it around your thumb. So the way I have to flip this knife, or any knife that's too light, to compensate for the lack of weight, you have to throw the knife further away from the pivots. So for the Mayhem, I pretty much all my rollovers start almost halfway from the, or in the middle, I guess you should say, in the middle of the handle. This is how far I have to start. So you lose a lot of control, because usually I like to start within, very close to the pivots or within that inch. Over with the Mayhem, I have to start in the middle. And if I'm starting with the bite handle, I have to start even further away, because this safe handle is even lighter because it doesn't have the latch or the clip. And because this clip does ride down quite a bit, it does kind of get in the way. I don't remove it because you can remove it, so that's a plus. But I don't, because I carry this knife and I need the clip to do that. So all those things combined make it a pretty lousy flipper, and that's why I don't flip it a whole lot. It's kind of a fun challenge to make it work, but overall I like to flip a knife that's going to be predictable and one that I can pull off all my best moves on. So it's definitely not a good flipper. It's maybe one step up from a Benchmade 53, and that's not saying a whole lot. And the only reason it's up a little bit from a 53 is because the titanium handles are a little heavier, and it does have slightly longer handles. But other than that, it's not a good flipper. But it wasn't built for such. It was really built for an excellent EDC, and it definitely accomplished that role. So overall, those are my thoughts on the Bradley Mayhem. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. If you have questions, leave comments, and thanks for watching.